Hi, and welcome to Something for the Weekend, brought to you as always by Together 2012. We're a disability arts organisation based in the main Paralympic host borough of Newham. I'm Ju Gosling, also known as Ju90. I'm an artist and the artistic director, and with me in my Canning Town studio, where she's been since
A
March
while, yeah. A
since
while,
March
yeah.
2020, is our chair, the artist and activist, Julie Newman. We're going to come back to East London for some more introductions, some audio description, and also to tell you what we're dressing up to go out to stay in to do this week. But first, to the other end of our virtual wheeled sofa, all the way to the West Midlands. Let's have some introductions, some audio description, and do tell us what you're dressed up to go out to stay in to do today.
Well, hello, I'm Tracy Surgeoner, and yes, I'm in our Sutton Coldfield studio with our red velvet curtains behind us. And today I am dressed in a silver and black space helmet with a silver high-necked, long-sleeved jacket,
Spacesuit.
which makes my very trendy spacesuit. And today I am flying off to the moon to have tea with William Shatner.
Oh,
Mm.
and who is William Shatner for anybody?
He I should have explained. He is the original captain of the Starship Enterprise from Star Trek.
And did I see in the papers this week he's actually planning to go into space?
Yes, he is. Yes, so I'm hoping I can tag along. He's always had an eye for the ladies, so hopefully.
Could we have a little bit more audio description of Tracy from Robin? I think it's.
Yes. So as ever, she's upstaged me, although you haven't got to me yet. But she's wearing a glorious space helmet, with a see-through visor. Thankfully, the atmosphere in here is breathable, so she hasn't had to have her mouthpiece on. Then she's wearing a lovely, kind of, space-proof silver, very silver shiny suit, and then she has some of her. I mean, because she's alien. I mean, it's not a human space person. That's why she's meat.
It's
That's
a
why she.
looking helmet, isn't it? Every time you move, Tracy, to show us the light changes, which is rather fabulous as well. You have your own light source. You're reflecting.
And she has alien devices on her fingers and wrists. Is all I can say.
Which look extraordinarily like silver pipe cleaners to me, but who's counting? So thank you for that, Robin. Who are you? What do you look like? And what are you dressed up to go?
Okay, so I am Robin Surgeoner, business director, as you can tell, of Together 2012. I have got silvery white hair, blue eyes behind black framed glasses. I am a white person. And what am I dressed up? So I am wearing a very bright red, long sleeved jacket with a dark blue neck and cuff and red shorts. You can see. And I have what they would call a life ring on my on the breast of the shirt. That is because I am going to a Baywatch party this weekend. I even have appropriate medallion.
Which looks extraordinarily like a medal that we hope to put on the teddy bear later in the show. The Clockwork Paralympics, as always, are coming up in the second half of the show, along with our recommendations for activities and events you can enjoy from home in our piece the week ahead. And who are we interviewing in our finally piece, Robin, later in the show?
Today we're going to meet a writer called Risha Armstead.
And Risha's got a chapter out in a new book, so we'll be telling you about that as well. But first, back to East London. Julie, who are you? What do you look like? What are you dressed up to stay out to go in to do?
Hi. Today, I'm Julie Newman. I'm the chair of Together 2012, and today I'm dressed up as proud to be gay, but particularly in relation to National Hate Crime Awareness Week. This is a regular event. It's a yearly event. It's been held since 2009. And here's the cat who wants to play. So I have my baseball cap on with my pride flag. I have a tabby sitting in front of the regard logo on my.
Every lesbian needs at least one cat.
At least one tabby for sure. It's the purple triangle with the outline of the picture of a wheelchair in rainbow colours, and with regard in white down one side. The overall T-shirt itself is a white T-shirt, a white background. And I have, oh dear, the cat's just messed up my iPad. I'm about to order cat food from Tesco. A bit unfortunate, really. I've got dark rim glasses. I have gold and silver hair. And I can come back and talk more about the National Hate Crime Awareness next, later in the session if you wish.
Yeah, that would be great, Julie. We'll also be looking at events for Black History Month, and I am dressed up to go out to stay in for World Mental Health Day, which is on Sunday. So I'm a white woman with pale olive skin. I've got self-styled, hennaed, corona cropped hair, hidden thankfully under a grey trilby. I've got black wrist braces, black plastic glasses, silver coloured jewellery, and I'm wearing a purple t-shirt that says Mad Love. And one of the reasons I chose that was because I think mental health starts with looking after yourself. So on Sunday, I'm going to be trying to really sort of chill out and think about well-being, and just think about relaxing and doing other things that are good for our mental health and well-being. And we've also got some related events that again are coming up in our recommendations for the week ahead. So Julie, we will start, as we do traditionally, with poems from this week's Pop-Up Poetry Club. The Pop-Up Poetry Club runs every Wednesday morning from 10:30 to 12 by telephone. We phone you and we pay for the calls. Do you want to tell us a bit more about it?
I'm not quite sure what to say. I mean, it does
Well,
run.
tell us what happens in that hour and a half.
Okay, for when Alison Marchant, who's the program leader, calls us at about 10:20, we stay on the line, and then it's like a conference call, an old-fashioned conference call for those of us who are around then, pre-Zoom. I don't want to presume anything really, but that's we all hang on until 10:30 when the session starts properly. Alison kicks us off with a theme that she has chosen for the week, and this week's theme was recycling. So I think we've got some lovely poems about recycling coming in. Next week's theme, actually, just for those who are interested, is creating a narrative for a character. So imagine somebody. It can be a real person, probably an imaginary person or a creature, and make a story about them, but do it in the form of a poem, which I think is a lovely idea. And then for the first half, we read out either our own poems or poems that we've found in books or on the internet that might be related to the theme or just something that really struck us. At 11 o'clock, we all end the call, and Alison calls us back at about, again, 11:20. And that last half hour from 11:30 to 12 is an opportunity to read our own poems.
So in that half hour that she rings off, that's when you're writing the poems on this week's theme.
Hopefully, but in truth, it's actually quite hard to write a poem in 20 minutes. It's possible. I mean, I've done it myself, but
it is writing time, isn't it?
It is writing time, and what it gives you is an opportunity to reread, perhaps to read out loud the poem that you've finished, or to finish it off. So it's quite a nice little space just to prepare for the second half.
Great. So let's hear some of those poems, and let's start with the West Midlands.
Okay. I need you to just remove my head hat, lift it a little bit. That's it. Okay. So I've got a poem by Dawn Barber called Recycle. Sorry.
Should we? I think for safety's
Thank
sake,
you.
safety's sake, we'll just remove the helmet.
See, I've been watching Metal Masters, which is one of the programs Tracy recommended recently. And she really reminds me in that hat of these Metal Masters where they have these strange helmets and their heads up to get the right at the back.
Yeah. Can we go over to you,
Yes,
Robin, for this
I will go first. So I've got a poem from Dwayne Bryan. This is just called Recycling. Bottle and cans and plastic plates go to waste, even after you've eaten. Once used and been thrown away, will be recycled for another day. You didn't know you would be saving the environment, so don't complain or be silent. We are saving the planet and people's time, so please be good and keep that in mind. We recycle waste to save money and time, so please be grateful and recycle all the time.
Thank you for that, Dwayne, and thank you for reading that, Robin. This is Crystal Peasy, also just called Recycling. And Crystal says, you can recycle plastic containers and plastic bottles. You can recycle storage boxes with lids. You can recycle takeaway containers. You can recycle paper, including newspapers and magazines. You can also recycle glass bottles and jars. You can recycle junk mail. You can recycle juice and milk containers. You can recycle different home goods like chairs, tables, beds, and computers. You can also recycle bowls and cups. You can recycle cards like Christmas, Halloween, birthday, and Easter cards. You can recycle candles and clothes and lots of materials. And we can look after our environment. I'm the queen of recycling. And I think if you're recycling all of those things every week, Crystal, I agree, you are the queen of recycling. Thank you very much. I think back over to Tracy now.
Yes, sorry about that. Right. I've got one by Dawn Barber entitled Recycle. And I've got to say before I read it out, when I was reading this earlier, I kept rapping it. I could see it going with a rap. So here we go. Come on, let's all recycle and do our bit. Let's treat our world with respect. Rubbish takes over, but we must not let it. Got to keep our world tidy and clean. Let's put all our rubbish in the right places so we can have more smiley faces. The arrow is pointing to the bin.
Thank you, Dawn, and thank you, Tracy. I love that end. But absolutely, the arrow is pointing to the bin. Julie, what have you got for us?
Mine, unsurprisingly, is called Recycling. The government decided recycling is mandatory. Traffic needs reducing. The cars of the poor now sent to be made into cars for the rich by giant jaws, unmindful of the last dying screams of metal that emerge from the crusher. Giant containers of dead metal travel relentlessly across the seas in giant ships to lands that are metal hungry. They plough through small islands of plastic, invisible to radar, visible to the naked eyes of the sea creatures held captive. Dead metal, so precious to the makers, is brought back to life in furnaces, melting down the solid forms into a molten base, reminiscent of great lava lakes spewed out of volcanoes, now actively scourging life as they flow. And the hunger for all things new outweighs the hunger of the many who hold dear the little they have. Unmindful of age or beauty, their precious belongings amount to what is essential to their lives. Recycling, now the driving force of nations that waste too much in their pursuit of luxury, is not an end in itself. Innovation continues to feed the hunger for the new, the better, the best. But still, the global drive for a cure to our dying planet needs attention. Recycling grips the imaginations of our young campaigners. They become activists, the conscience of the wastrels, the optimists hoping for a tomorrow.
Thank you for that, Julie. Apologies for the shaky camera, which of course is just the cat leaping up and down and trying to get some attention. which probably will be more forthcoming if it wasn't for the sharp claws going into the knees. So I think you've got one more poem for us, Tracy.
I have. I've got one by Alison Marchant. 6 recycling bins. There's a small blue bin which we put glass bottles and jars in. There's a big green bin we put grass cuttings and prunings in. There's a small white bag on top of the big green bin we put batteries in. There's a small green bin to put food waste like orange peel. There's a white bag to put paper, card, tins, cans and plastic bottles in. There's a big black bin containing a small bag for everything else that can't be recycled. Most gets recycled.
Wow. I mean, like, Alison is staying temporarily I say temporarily, it's like you being temporary, isn't it? Temporarily since March 2020, Alison has been based over her mother's, shielding and looking after her. And all I can say is her borough, or her mother's borough, has a very different system to Newham. One green bin where you can put a very limited amount of stuff in, and everything else has to go into the black sack, or you're going to have to spend some money on fuel to be very ungreen and take your recycling somewhere else. So I'm incredibly impressed by that. It sounds like Brighton used to be.
I think Brighton still is actually, yeah. A lot of boroughs are. My mum's borough was as well. You know, they had a mass of things that you could recycle, and she was absolutely, very, very religious about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends where you are in the country, because to be fair to East London, they cannot find a recycling contractor who's interested in taking all these teeny tiny little bags. But wow, that's really complicated as well.
Yeah.
So, yes, that's very thought provoking, Alison. And of course, we'll be looking more at environmental themes as we come up to COP26 in Scotland later in the month, the big global environmental gathering. But we always, as people will know, embed recycling in everything we do. And we'll come on in a minute and look at what people are doing with recycled materials in the art club's Make and Natter group. But first, let's have a look at the work from last Friday's art club. I'd like to just take this opportunity to tell you a little bit more about the Together clubs for anybody who's new. They're completely free, they're open to any disabled person and anybody you want to have with you. And they're inclusive of all abilities. So it doesn't matter if you're a beginner, everybody's got something to teach, everybody's got something to learn. Most of our clubs currently take place for an hour on Zoom. They used to be 2 hours, but we do find that online an hour is long enough. And though, of course, on a Wednesday, as Julie said, we have a phone based pop up poetry group. So on a Tuesday from 11 to 12, the Make and Natter session takes place, and it pretty much does what it says on the tin. People come along, make things, and natter about them as they go, and either bring things that they're working on anyway, or take part in an activity led by Alison Marchant, who's an artist and our club's programme leader. So traditionally, we put up the still life picture from the Friday Art Club, which is still life, for Robin to audio describe without having seen first. And the Still Life Club is much less nattery and more mindful. Alison creates an image and photographs it, shares it by Zoom, but can also share it by WhatsApp, email, text, whatever's easiest for you. And then if you'd like to share the pictures with the live stream and the audience, that's very welcome, but it's certainly not compulsory. And we'll be putting that picture up as usual on our highlights and links page later in the day that we're filming. So from about 4 o'clock on a Thursday, all of the details will be up on the highlights and links page, including how to join in with the clubs. So here's the still life from last Friday, Robin.
Well, this is a new handbag. We do know that Alison Marchant has an infinite supply of handbags. And this is a really nice picture. Very, in itself, it's very calming. So there's a sort of a light burnt orange handbag. If it's a triangle really, So the handle makes the top of the triangle, and about 2/3 up is a sort of dulled silver metal bar that runs across the top with the clasp on it. And then spreading out, filling the rest of the triangle as there's this kind of burnt orangey material, then with some leaf prints in darker orangey red and a darker brown, that are sort of in it rather than on it. So it's kind of got a, almost a like a submersive feel that the colors are in it. And then in front of that, is, I would, if anybody knows that what an orchid is, this looks like it could be a bronze orchid, to the slightly to the front and right of the handbag, but actually it's a very calming shot.
It is. I think that's probably a silk orchid that somebody would pin on themselves. And one of the things I really love about it is it really echoes the shape of the biggest flower shape on the actual fabric. So I'm going to just take that down and have a look at some of people's, I say, efforts. Beautiful pictures. So this is by Dwayne Bryan, and Dwayne has done a fantastic representation. He's used red and orange, and I'm pretty sure he's using oil pastel, and that's really bright and colourful. And what Dwayne's done by changing the shape of the flower on the bag and the corsage to red is he's really brought out the shapes and brought out the contrasts rather than the similarities, and I think that's a really interesting approach. So this one is a painting, and this is by Crystal Peasy. And what I really love about this is Crystal's used quite thick paint, and she's really got the textures as a result, and she's taken that shape and moved it into the center of the handbag and painted it gold in the same way that she's done the strap and the clasp. So it comes out in a completely different way, because then the corsage which she's done is the same colour as the bag, which is actually much more in real life. I love the way that everybody interprets these differently. And then this final one that I'm going to show today is from Lee Brooker. And Lee has just done a beautiful drawing in coloured pencils and has got the shadows and everything in. All of those pictures will be up on our highlights and links page. You can find that under the Together 2012 TV pull down menu on our website www.together2012.org.uk. So now we will move on and have a look at a few of the things people are doing in the Make and Natter group. The activities that Alison leads in the Make and Natter group are always based on anything that you have at home that can be recycled. And actually, that's really what most people are doing anyway, is doing recycled crafts. So this is from Crystal Peasy, who's continuing to make pom-poms with odd scraps of wool. Now, lots of people use plastic pom-pom makers, but Crystal is using the old-fashioned method where you just draw around something like a cup, a jam jar, cut out a cardboard circle, well, 2 cardboard circles that you put together, and then you just wrap the wool around them till the hole in the centre disappears, at which point you very carefully cut round the outside of the circle between the 2 pieces of card, put a piece of wool around the whole thing very tightly, and bingo, you have another pom-pom. So this is in colours of browns, greens, whites, oranges, blues. It's obviously going to be very colourful indeed. And this is Duncan Bridgestock, who's making collages out of recycled card. This is a lovely one, actually. It's got a black background and it's got some. It's got. Robin, do you want to just audio describe this?
Yep. So Duncan is holding up a piece of, as Ju said, probably a A4-ish kind of size of black card, and then in a very stark white, he's cut out shapes that kind of look like boats, almost like the bottom of it, like the sampan or the bottom of a sailing boat. But not used them in that way, just spaced them to kind of create. I mean, it could be birds flying, it could be swords crossing. I mean, it's really effective and definitely leads the mind to kind of try to create its own perspective on what it's seeing.
And I'm delighted to say that we're going to be doing an entire digital exhibition of Duncan's collages as part of our forthcoming Together 2021 Disability History Month Festival, which starts in the middle of November. And indeed, next week we will be launching the programme, so watch out for that. So this is by Ellen Goody, and Ellen is working on, as people who are regulars will remember, Ellen's come up with a really interesting way of working. She's drawing around a different sort of kitchen utensil each week. She's colouring in the pictures, she's cutting them out, she's sticking them onto other colours. So here we've got a green piece of card, and in the middle at the bottom, she's drawn round what looks like a flower shape, but actually I think it is some kind of kitchen cutter. And then she's coloured it in on the green paper. And then she's done two more like that, but on orange paper, and then cut them out and put them on. I suspect we're going to be giving Ellen an exhibition at some point, or certainly these should be up in a cafe or something, because it's a really, really clever way of working that seems to be completely unique to Ellen. So well done, Ellen. And then finally, this is Sophia, who is just beginning to start wrapping papier mache, which is basically soaking scrap paper in glue and pasting it round. And she's using a recycled plastic container because that way she can make something that can put liquid in. It's going to be really robust. Traditionally, you would wrap papier mache around something and then take it off. But actually, when we have all these containers that would otherwise just go into the rubbish and sit in landfill, why not use them to make something from papier mache that's also very, very strong and waterproof inside? So I think that's been one of Alison Marchant's new ideas to develop papier mache. So congratulations to both of you. And now we are going to move on, as always, and get Tracy to take us through an activity that's just for our online participants. Although I understand quite often they do then pick it up again in the Tuesday Make a Natter group. So what are you going to show us how to make this week, Tracy?
Well, I was having a go with paper. There's quite up. So this is my finished version.
Great.
I've made a picture frame, something quite simple to start with, and it's literally made from paper rolled into straw shapes.
Okay, so I'm going to put an image up on the screen, and you can tell us what we need for the activity.
Okay. So yes, you just need some, any paper. I've used one of the free papers that come through the door for this, but a magazine would work just as well. So glue, scissors, any sort of paper, and I've got a cocktail stick there that I've used and a small paintbrush. And if you can see in the background behind the paper, it's in thin, maybe about 4 inches wide strips. So it doesn't need to be a very big paper. It could be a magazine or even a advertising leaflet that's cut into the strips. So this is the process. So it's cut into strips, and you start at one end with a cocktail stick or a barbecue stick, something quite thin just to get you started. So you start at one end and then just roll, and then that becomes a straw. So there we go. And I said one end. It should be. I should have said the corner. It's the very corner, and you roll it away from yourself so that you are making that it gets longer as you go. And then just to keep it in place, just a little blob of glue or Pritt stick, just to hold it in place. So here I've done the hard work with a bit of help, and made myself a pile of paper straws, and a little pot of glue, and then for this picture frame, basically I've used 4 sections, so 4 straws for each side, the top, the bottom, and the 2 sides of the frame, and then just glued them all together. So then I've moved on to making some sort of little flower shapes to decorate it with. And again, you still use the straw that you flatten it out, start at one end, put a little bit of glue just to keep it in place, and then just roll it till you get to the other end. There I am at the other end, and then again another little bit of glue just to keep it in place. So this is the final run up to making the picture frame. I've got my sides and my top and bottom. I've got my little flowers I've made up, and then I've got a piece of card that I've cut out of a cereal packet. So I've put on the two sides that then I wanted to show you, because this is going to be a picture frame. I've just taken one of the straws, bent it in half and glued it to the board so that the picture doesn't fall out of the bottom. And then that's me just showing you. I've put the bottom across, and then also I'll put the top on. So you've got your two that stick to the cardboard, and then you've got two that stick to the sides that are on. And I've just placed some of the little flowers on just to make it look a bit more pretty. That's the version where I've not cut the straws down, which actually I quite like that. So yeah, that's it. And then we're back to my final one, which I've cut down. But I mean, I've left this just as the newspaper itself, because I quite like, you've got bits of colour as you see it, but you could decorate this if you wanted to. You could paint all the straws beforehand, and then decorate it. I'm going to work with this a little bit more, and there's lots of things you can do with these rolls of paper. So next week I might do another one.
It's incredibly effective. I mean, yeah, it's just really, really effective. And I can see that, of course, you could paint it and you could spray it and you could do all sorts of things. But I love the way that it just comes through as it is. So that again will be up on the website. And we also have a whole, well, I say page, but there's pages and pages now. We have lots more Join In with Tracy activities on our website. If you go to the Join In from Home main link and either follow the links or click on the pull down menu, and this activity, as always, will be up there on Thursday afternoon too. But check out the highlights and links page, where you will also find the Clockwork Paralympics, which are coming up next. And our Clockwork Paralympics have been taking place every week since March 2020, overseen and commentated on by our own Paralympic champion, Robin Surgener. We're back in, I should say, we're still poolside, but not in the pool. Oh, yes. So let's meet Robin's teddy bear, who's hoping to be wearing a medal for the following week.
Yep,
Teddy.
Sorry, Ju. This is a tiny Ted, really. Ted the Tiny Ted. And he is raring to go for today's competition. And we will choose the right side of the stadium.
Thank you, Tiny Ted. And we have still, because she was a birthday present in May and I absolutely love her, we have Tanny the athletic teddy bear, who's a medium-sized honey-coloured bear with red and white sports shoes, a red headband, a little blue sporting jacket, and fortunately her own medal. And of course, we do love our teddies, but they're also taking part in the International Virtual Bear Hunt. The Bear Hunt is inspired by Michael Rosen's book, Bear Hunt. If you see teddy bears in windows, that's for children going out and about their daily lives and their exercise, and also spotting teddy bears. And the virtual bear hunt is particularly appreciated, of course, by young people who aren't going out and about either because of COVID or some other reason. So our teddy bears compete to wear a medal depending on whether London 2012 or Birmingham 2022 has won this week's Clockwork Paralympics. And we've got some, well, I think we've seen them once before, but we have some new competitors, or relatively new competitors, who are the plastic cockatoos. At least I think they're supposed to be cockatoos, but we can all have a look. So to play this at home, you have to decide, are you going to support the toy on the right side of the screen or the left side of the screen? Robin, what's your choice this week?
Yeah, we're going right side. So here we are in our stadium. I think, yes, that could be described as a cockatoo. We've gone green on the right hand side. Again, we're on our super smooth running surface, ready for a sprint. Well, they're off to an amazing start. The yellow one started so fantastically well, but seems to have lost its way a little bit. The green Birmingham side, remembering we are representing the Commonwealth Games, as opposed to London 2012, Birmingham would appear to be forced to celebrate a stunning victory.
Fortunately, we're not quite as competitive as they are in.
That's not true. They just hide it.
May I just say that was kind of spooky when the little creature came galloping right up to the camera.
And here we go. And here is Tiny Ted wearing a medal which is as big as he is.
He is. And what medal is he wearing this week?
This one is for the it's from the West Midlands Disability Championships, and it is a gold medal for, I believe, the 50 breaststroke. That's 50 meters breaststroke.
Can't say thank you, because we are a bit more ignorant down in East London. So now we're going to move on and look at the week ahead and see what's happening online and offline, usually, although not always, for free, and things that we can join in from home. Julie, you were talking about Hate Crime Awareness Week. Do you want to start with that?
Yes, thank you, Ju. National Hate Crime Awareness Week, I don't know if I said, has been around since 2009, so it's relatively new in the scheme of things. It's a campaign which is run by an organisation called National Hate Crime Awareness Week, actually, but they run the campaign throughout the year. They're supported by a whole range of organisations, including some formal ones from the councils throughout the country, and that's actually throughout the UK, not just England. It's an opportunity to look at what hate crime is, who it affects, how to report it, and where to get support.
Great, thanks for that, Julie. So, what recommendations have we got from the West Midlands?
I'll go first, shall I? Okay. So my first recommendation is for a show. It's tomorrow evening, 6:30 till 7:30, called Bake Along with Ono. I if I pronounce that wrong, I apologise. It is a presentation from the beautiful Octopus Club, who are very well known to us at Together, and it is an online show where Ono will be working with somebody called sous chef Ned to show you how to create Jamaican ginger cake, and it is free.
Oh, I do love a nice ginger cake, although I'm allergic to eggs, so it would depend on the recipe. Yes, I mean, Heart and Soul, who run the beautiful Octopus Club, did a wonderful online festival last autumn. So we'll be flagging up all sorts of other online events as they come up, because the website promises that this is just one of many. I'm going to recommend something on Sunday for World Mental Health Day, and that's called Tough Talk. It's happening at 7 o'clock online. It's free. There's a booking link in Eventbrite, and it's a group of people having a conversation about how men deal with tough situations and how men can support each other. And I think men's mental health is so kind of hidden, it's not talked about in the same way as women's. So, obviously it's aimed at men, but I think everybody would find it interesting because, I think we're all aware that we could maybe do a bit more to support people, and particularly people who we suspect are struggling but maybe are not showing it, and it's perhaps easier just to ignore it. So that's called Tough Talk, a relaxed, informal discussion about men and mental health on Sunday at 7 o'clock. Tracy, what's your first recommendation?
Well, my first recommendation is it's a comedy show, and it's themed on Design My Night. It's a online event. It's on a Sunday evening, and it's going to be on through October and November. There is a ticket price. The tickets are £1, which I think is a reasonable request. But it's a comedy show with a twist. They describe it as the science of comedy. I have seen one, and it Yeah, it was interesting and a bit funny, so I will give it another go. And it's basically a discussion comedy show around issues and popular issues at the moment, things that we're all talking about at the moment.
So,
So
do you know what they're talking about next week?
sorry, Ju.
What's this week's show?
They don't give you a title for each week, but it's things like they talk about fear, they talk about the class system. You know, a comedy show usually just to make you laugh. That they're making you laugh. That they're talking about issues that we're all, popular issues that are around today, not just jokes. So it's
Yeah,
quite fun.
I always find your recommendations worth watching, so I'm going to have to bear that one in mind. Julie, what do you have for us next?
The museum. Sorry, let me say that again. The Museum of Docklands has a whole page devoted on the website to Black History Month, and there's some lovely, lovely videos of people talking about objects. They've got 4 objects identified within those videos, and they're really, really interesting. But they're also insightful. They give us an opportunity to think about things in a different way.
Yeah, I remember we, as Together 2012, we worked on a festival with Museum of London Docklands, and they invited me to come in and choose an object that I felt, was. It's a great way through because it's looking at objects that have relationships, perhaps to our family histories, or our cultural histories, and then looking at things for today. So yeah, that's another great one. Robin, what else have you got for us?
Oh well, this one is a bit of coming home in a sense, really. So this one is called Define Journey, and it's on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Again, it's online via Eventbrite. It's being supported by Disability Arts Online as well. And this is a kind of discussion around Joanne Cox. Joanne Cox is some of you will remember is very associated with Together. She's a cellist and has had Arts Council support to create a piece of work which is called the actual piece is called Defiant Journey, and this is using extracts from that live show, or what would have been live show when it was originally thought of prior to COVID, and then discussion led by Colin Hambrook from Disability Arts Online. And I just think it's really interesting because it's going to use work with how Joanne came up with her themes and kind of put the ideas together.
Yeah, and I mean, I think for anybody who's part of our club's program, Joanne ran 2 workshops over our Summer Together program in August and September, which was exploring these ideas and actually sort of looking at how it was best to present them and how best to communicate about them. So if you took part in Joanne's workshops, you'll find this particularly interesting. And we've just been really pleased to be a partner in that journey. So the next thing I'm going to recommend is next Wednesday, the 13th of October, from 7 to 9 p.m. There's a free online screening of a German film with English subtitles called The Hidden Life of Trees. And really, I'm not recommending this for the language or the content, but just the visuals, which are supposed to be stunning. I was at the Survivors Poetry Cafe online last Thursday, and a whole conversation grew up, and people started reading poems about trees and how great being with trees are for your mental health. And I said, I don't think I've really seen a tree for more than 18 months, apart from the sort of stubby little saplings that you have in the street. So I thought, well, this was a lovely way of having those mental health benefits of seeing some of the most beautiful trees in the world. And it's a film by Jörg Adolf, but it's starring Peter Wolleben. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. And he's the author of was published in 2015 called The Hidden Life of Trees. So really the whole thing I think is going to be absolutely fascinating. And that's 7 to 9 p.m. online next Wednesday. Who else has got something they'd like to recommend?
I've got another one, and it is a therapeutic. It's described as a therapeutic arts workshop. That's on Eventbrite. It's on the 9th of October at 4 o'clock. It's a free event, and it's described as a workshop to balance your body, mind, and soul through art. So that could be quite interesting.
It does sound like it. I think we've possibly got room for one, maybe two more, but I'm going to jump in with another Black History Month event. And it's a talk on Wednesday the 13th from 1 to 2. So a great way to spend your lunchtime. It's online, it's free. And the authors of a new book on Black musical theatre in the UK in the first half of the 20th century will be discussing that with particular reference to the artists who toured to Bristol, including on a number of occasions Paul Robeson. But it looks at, those same performers were touring around London. The whole book looks absolutely fascinating. It is very much a hidden history. People aren't aware of just how many Black musical performers there were in the first half of the 20th century in the UK. So I think it's a great event, 1 to 2 p.m. Wednesday, the 13th of October. Did you have another very quick one, Julie?
Yes, Tunbridge Wells is running a puppetry week, which I think is wonderful. On Sunday, you can book, there's not a specific time, but you can book through their website to see a short film called Red Rover, which, linking into Tracy and her intergalactic travels, is an animation about a response localized to Mars to the mechanical invasion from Earth.
Wonderful. So all of the details of that and the booking links will be up on our highlights and links page. Go to our website, www.together2012.org.uk, and either click on the pull down menu for Together 2012 TV or just follow the link from the main page where indeed you may be watching this show. So I think that's all we've got time for today, because as always, Robin is going to introduce us to another fabulous disabled artist or disabled writer, I think in this case, who's going to tell us more about what they're doing at the moment. So it's goodbye from East London.
Okay, well, over to me. Today we are going to be listening to and watching an interview with Risha Armstead. Risha lives in the East Midlands. She'll tell you that, in fact, within the interview. She is a poet and a writer, but very much kind of coming out publicly as such now, moving into the realm of being a published author rather than at home. And it's really interesting stuff. So viewers, today I am talking with Risha Armstead. Risha is a disabled woman who lives in the East Midlands and has got a fascinating life story. So Risha, over to you really. Tell us a bit about yourself.
I live with my husband. I got to growing up with and I've done a lot of work around disability, and I've spent 10 years working for disabled people network. I did a lot of work for support parents with disabilities. I'm the chair of government at my local primary school. I have done quite a lot of work around schools and on my own project called Not That Different, where I help keep children about disability awareness. That kind of got shut down because of COVID, but I've still done a lot of work at my own school around that. And I'm a writer, so the last couple of years I've started writing, and I'm a mom, and I also run my own keep a support the help me in work every day. That's quite a big compliment.
I do. I mean, I think that people often don't realise that when you need personal assistance in all aspects of life, you are an employer, you're a trainer, you're a manager, you're an administrative assistant, you're your own boss, you're a director. But actually, I think what we want to focus on right now is you as an artist, you as a writer. So how have you got started in writing?
Well, I've always loved writing ever since I was a child. All the picture is non-disabled who grew up more difficult activity than I could. And I can remember her being out playing with her friend and they stuck in the house bored. Bored, guys, what should I do? And Dad will go give me a book to read or say, write me a story. And that very much encouraged me to find things that I could do. And reading is my greatest passion. I've always got a book in my hand, and I always enjoy writing stories and telling growing up. And I love the English language, and I love that way of expression.
I think we'll have to get you involved with some of the Together poetry work in the future. You've recently been involved in a particular book where you've contributed a section called Stories of Truth and Triumph. Can you tell us a bit about the book and kind of your involvement and what you put into it?
Okay, so the lady that had the idea and made it all happen is called Risha, and I know her from the group that I'm on Facebook. I've met her before, and her whole philosophy is to help people to get out there and be able to focus on their dreams and their aspirations, and to help people get to life trauma and inhibition for her. So the book, all the Christian Triumph, is a collection of stories written by a whole range of authors. There are actually two books, and I'm in book two. And I was asked to contribute a chapter. And the focus of the book is about the choices that you made to help you work through maybe a difficult situation or a life trauma event that might have happened to you, and how you come out the other side.
So within the story, or within your contribution to the book, was there a particular focus of your life that you paid attention to?
I don't want to give it all away because I love to buy the book and read it, and because one thing that I want to mention is that all the profits of the book are going to a charity called Megan's Faith, that support young people with mental health issues. And that was all about a young girl that unfortunately could get died, and it was the parents that set up the charity to help other young people in their families to get through mental health issues. And my particular story is that it was set in my time at Loughborough University, and I was studying from my degree, and it's about a particular individual who I call Mr. Nasty, who, let's say, made my life very difficult, and he didn't believe that I had got the ability to be at university. I suffered a lot of discrimination from him, and I had to try to handle that. Did I let it get to me and walk away from my degree? But some people might have done that, or they're going to make the choice to carry on regardless and not let you stop me. And it was also a very difficult time in my life when I suffered a huge personal loss, and so it wasn't easy.
Okay, I mean, so without giving any more of the plot away, we will certainly promote the book at the end of the interview and put it on our website, which will be, hopefully really encourage people to buy. So, obviously, we've all been locked in our houses for far too long, but a bit like me, you do work from home, so it's not been as different. In terms of your writing, what are you doing now and kind of looking forward to?
The whole coronavirus experience has been very difficult for everyone, and I think it's been particularly difficult for disabled people for a number of reasons. It is lonely, but I look about it, and I'm working on a book. I haven't got a title yet. My book is around my experience of the pandemic over the last 18 months. And because I look at the pandemic and what happened out there in the world, I write about how I experienced that, but I also look back on some times of my life that are it's a little bit autobiographical.
Well, I'm sure, just like everything that you've done, you will make both truth and triumph out of your future writing. I wish you luck in finishing it. And I'd just like to say thank you so much for giving us your time this afternoon, Risha.
Thank you very much for having me.